Hey everyone, I'm back to talk about a few more movement options related stuff. This will be a brief addendum to that. This will be talking about some of the vulnerabilities and weaknesses of your movement options. The first thing I will talk about is your dashes, specifically your forward dash. Now, as I kind of briefly touched on upon, but didn't really go into detail, when you dash there's a brief startup and then you break into the full sprint. Now, once you've reached the full sprint, you can do anything out of it that you want. This includes blocking, attacking, or shielding. So I'm going to set the dummy to run forward and then retreat into a shield. Right. Now if I try to attack her, even though she has this little animation where she's sliding to a stop, she is still able to block during that animation. Now, if I set it back to neutral, what is unsafe though is the very start of the dash animation. Right here. Alright, so I'm going to record the dummy and have her do this. And now, if I have her play this back, you'll see that I can hit her. Well, if I do it properly. I'm doing very well. There we go. So anyway, this is something you'll want to keep in mind. You want to pay attention to what distance you are at your opponent when you choose to dash forward. Since the startup is a little bit unsafe, if your opponent anticipates that they're going to walk towards you, or you're going to commit you to a dash, they can throw out a long-range approach to stuff your approach. However, if you're all the way full screen across, and your opponent has no projectiles, then you can safely run towards your opponent because you'll be able to block in time if you react well. The next thing we're going to talk about is air mobility. Now, as I've said before, you have a few options for air mobility, your dash and your mid-air jump, and your super jump. Now, for your jump, your mid-air jump, and your super jump, when you land on the floor, you can immediately move afterwards. You can see that as soon as I touch the floor, I immediately transition to my walking animation. However, the air dash is not the same way, so if I air dash, when I touch the floor, there's a brief delay where I touch the ground and then I walk back. Now this delay is actually punishable. So if you are using an air dash to approach, you want to be careful and make sure that you do not put yourself too close to the opponent or just dash without doing anything in front of your opponent. Because if you land in front of them, there will be that small delay and your opponent does have an opportunity to exploit it. One thing I forgot to mention is the delay on your landing depends on the last action you did. So if I air dash and then mid-air jump, then I can still act instantly. One last thing to note about being in the air, I have the enemy set to guard all with shield. So if I do an air attack and it gets shielded, then if I choose not to do the shield follow-up, so if I don't do this, then I actually have to do the delayed animation even if I didn't use any mid-air jumps or air dashes. As you can see, Tono is doing the little squat thing even though he didn't do any of his mid-air jumps. So you want to be very careful when you're doing your air actions, because if you don't shield out of it, then your opponent has basically a guaranteed punish on you for it. That'll be all for this little addendum on your movement options, and I will see you in the next one.